Before this video ends, one ordinary voice will change a life forever. A voice that came from pain, silence, and rejection, and shocked everyone who thought miracles only happened to the lucky. This is not just a story about talent. It's a story about courage, loss, and the moment the world finally listens. If you believe powerful stories deserve to be heard, hit the subscribe button now and stay with us until the end, because this journey will stay in your heart long after the screen fades. Story script. The first time people noticed Daniel Reyes, it wasn't because he could sing. It was because he never spoke. In a small town on the edge of a busy American city, Daniel was known as the quiet kid who kept his head down, carried an old backpack, and walked the longest way home from school just to avoid the crowds. Teachers thought he was shy. Classmates thought he was strange. No one knew that silence had become his shield after life taught him how cruel noise could be. Daniel was born into a family that once felt complete. His father, Miguel Reyes, worked 2 jobs but always came home singing old songs in Spanish and English, filling their small apartment with warmth. His mother, Elena, believed music was a language that healed wounds words could not. When Daniel was 6, he used to sit on the floor and hum along, not knowing the lyrics, just feeling the vibrations in his chest. Those moments were pure. They felt safe. Everything changed the night a drunk driver ran a red light. Daniel remembered flashing lights, broken glass, and the sound of his mother screaming his name. His father didn't survive. After that night, the songs disappeared from their home. Elena stopped singing. The radio stayed off. And Daniel learned something that would shape him forever. Silence was easier than pain. Years passed, and Daniel grew into his silence. At school, he avoided attention. He wrote answers instead of speaking them. He ate lunch alone. Music class was the hardest. The teacher once asked him to sing a single note. Daniel froze. His throat tightened. The room spun. He shook his head and stared at the floor. Laughter followed him down the hallway that day, and the echo of it stayed with him for years. At home, Elena worked late shifts at a nursing home. She was exhausted, emotionally and physically. She loved her son deeply, but grief had turned her inward. They existed together in the same space, but rarely truly connected. Every night, Daniel lay awake listening to the distant sounds of traffic and wondered if his father's voice had vanished from the world forever, or if it was still out there, waiting to be found. When Daniel turned 16, something unexpected happened. During a power outage one evening, the apartment fell into complete darkness. With no television, no internet, and no distractions, Elena lit a candle and sat quietly. Daniel felt an old, familiar ache in his chest. Without thinking, he hummed. It was barely audible, shaky, unsure. Elena looked up sharply. Her eyes filled with tears. She asked him when he learned to sing. Daniel shrugged. He hadn't learned. He had remembered. That night, Elena told him something she had never said out loud. After Miguel's death, she couldn't bear music because it reminded her of what she lost. But hearing Daniel's voice brought Miguel back, not as pain, but as love. For the first time in years, they cried together. From that moment on, Daniel sang only when he was alone. Late at night, he would sit by the window and sing softly, afraid the neighbors might hear him, afraid the world might take it away if it noticed. Singing became his secret language with his father's memory. Then one afternoon, everything changed again. Daniel stayed late at school to finish an assignment. As he passed the auditorium, he heard a piano playing. The sound pulled him in like gravity. On stage sat Mr. Harris, the new music teacher, practicing alone. He stopped when he noticed Daniel standing in the shadows. Instead of asking Daniel to leave, Mr. Harris asked him if he liked music. Daniel hesitated, then nodded. Mr. Harris asked if he sang. Daniel shook his head, but something in Mr. Harris' eyes told Daniel he already knew the truth. A week later, Mr. Harris convinced Daniel to join choir, not to perform, not to be seen, but just to listen. Daniel stood in the back, silent, absorbing every note. One day, when half the choir was absent, Mr. Harris asked Daniel to fill in quietly. Daniel's hands trembled. His heart pounded. But when he sang, something magical happened. The room went still. Mr. Harris stopped conducting. The other students stared. Daniel's voice wasn't loud, but it was raw, emotional, and honest. It sounded like a story that had waited too long to be told. After that day, rumors spread. The quiet kid could sing. Some didn't believe it, others mocked him. But Mr. Harris saw something rare. He told Daniel about a nationwide singing competition, one that gave unknown voices a chance to be heard. He said Daniel didn't have to win. He just had to be brave enough to try. Daniel refused. Fear had ruled him for too long to let go easily. But life doesn't wait for fear to be ready. Elena collapsed at work one night. Stress, exhaustion, untreated health issues. Hospital bills piled up quickly. Daniel felt helpless watching his mother fade under the weight of survival. That was when the competition form reappeared on his desk, folded and worn. He filled it out. The audition day felt unreal. Cameras, lights, strangers, and judgment filled the room. Daniel almost turned back, but he remembered his father's songs. He remembered his mother's tears. He walked on stage alone. The judges asked him why he was there. Daniel spoke for the first time into a microphone and said he wanted his voice to mean something. When he sang, the room changed. One judge wiped away tears. Another leaned forward in disbelief. His voice carried grief, hope, and truth all at once. He advanced instantly. As the episodes aired, Daniel became a quiet sensation. People didn't just hear his voice. They felt it. His story resonated across the country. Messages poured in from veterans, single parents, grieving children, and people who had lost their voices in different ways. But fame comes with shadows. Online comments grew cruel. Some accused him of using tragedy for attention. Old classmates recognized him and shared embarrassing stories. The pressure mounted. Before the semi-finals, Daniel lost his voice completely due to stress and illness. Doctors said rest was his only option. Producers panicked. Fans worried. Elena watched from the hospital bed, terrified her son had pushed himself too far. The night before the semi-finals, Daniel stood alone backstage, unable to sing a note. He considered quitting. Then he remembered something his father used to say. Sing even when your voice shakes. That's when it matters most. On stage, Daniel spoke instead of singing. He told his story. He told the audience about silence, loss, and fear. Then, barely audible, his voice returned. Imperfect, fragile, real. The audience rose to their feet before he finished. Daniel didn't just make it to the finals. He changed the competition. In the final performance, he dedicated his song to anyone who thought their voice didn't matter. His mother watched from the front row, standing tall for the first time in years. Daniel didn't win first place. But he won something greater. A record label offered him a chance. His mother recovered. And Daniel learned that his voice was never just about singing. It was about surviving, connecting, and reminding people they are not alone. Today, Daniel Reyes still sings. Not for fame, not for applause, but for the kid who stayed silent too long, believing the world didn't want to listen. And now, millions do.